Now, Julian Clary's latest stand-up comedy tour, Position Vacant Apply Within, is so successful, he's added 30 extra dates, which should keep him going until it's time for him to write another book or appear on another TV spectacular. In the last couple of years, he's appeared in and won Celebrity Big Brother, had a good run on Strictly Come Dancing. Last year was in a pantomime in Birmingham with Joan Collins. But you're back in stand-up at the moment, Julian, so why are you going down so well?
I don't know. I think because I did this Big Brother experience, and which was a very odd thing to do. And
why did you do it? I mean, it was successful, but when they said, Julian, come into Celebrity Big Brother, did you think, oh, that's a weird thing for me to get involved in?
Well, I've always liked watching it. Yeah. And everyone else said, don't do it, that I wasn't suited to that kind of carry-on. And it was weird. It was a bit like, the film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Yes.
It was like being in that, but without the antidepressants.
Who was Nurse Ratched?
Oh, Julie Goodyear.
But you got on well with Julie Goodyear, didn't you?
I bonded with Julie Goodyear, and then the tour started kind of within a week of me coming out. That's just how life worked out. So, so lots of people came, and I had a good time, so I thought I'd do some more.
Yeah, so you've expanded your audience. So more people know you, even than already knew you, from the people who watch Big Brother.
Yes, yeah. There's sort of younger people coming now, whereas when I did Strictly, you'd get the older people coming. Right. And all it's. I mean, I quite like the mix, and because I've been around the block a few times. There's people. I did a warm-up show in Norwich the other day, and this woman presented her 25-year-old daughter, who apparently I had a picture taken of her when she was a week old. Yeah. When I was there 25 years ago. I guess.
Well, I mean, you have been. I mean, I remember appearing on the same bills with you, and you're always this rather calm presence in a sort of rowdy pub thing, and you were quite cruel to the audience, getting their handbags and taking things out and making fun of their stuff. And you had your dog, Fanny the Wonder Dog, who was also a very calm dog, which is even more remarkable. But you have this serene style when you're performing. Where does this come from? Inner confidence?
I think my medication probably has a lot to do with it. Well, I managed to scratch a living doing something very silly and trivial, and if you can make a living for 30-odd years by going down people's handbags and generally talking filth. I mean, the current show it's always based on some reality. So when I was conceiving the show, I was thinking about what was going on in my life, and my partner was not being very present in that he'd gone to America. So I thought, well, perhaps I'll just have to go and get another husband. Yeah. And and I always like audience participation. So the idea of this show is to, every night, I select a number of men from the audience, herd them onto the stage with a cattle prod, and put them in a sheep pen, and then I eventually end up with a husband who I then marry.
So you select a husband every night. So it's more a one-night stand than a marriage, isn't it? If you go on to the next show the next night.
It's ideal, yes. I have a husband in Norwich and I have a husband in Liverpool.
Yes. As long as in different towns.
I mean, it's a load of nonsense. But the idea of we have a proper gay wedding at the end with a bishop and confetti. So there's a sort of point to it, sort of.
So it's a little bit camp here and there, would you say, this show?
Yes, I know what I like, and I know what my audience like.
But are they? So I haven't seen this recent show. I've seen lots of your performances over the years. It fits in
You've
with
managed
the
to stay away.
Unfortunately, this wasn't available when we were.
Would you like to marry him for a night?
No. What I'm thinking is that maybe it's a stupid question, but is there a sort of real competition about this? Are people desperate to be the one that's chosen, or are they all just doing it for a laugh, or they think?
Well, it's very interesting because I've always had like one or two men out of the audience for a bit of the show, but if I get 10 up and they're all in this pen together, they get a kind of collective bravery and camaraderie, and they pat each other on the back once I've made them eat a fudge finger in a salacious manner or whatever the challenge is. So there's a real difference. They're not as petrified. And they're towards the end.
Finger of fudge is always a joy, isn't it? But
just enough, apparently.
Give yourself a treat.
Give your kids a treat.
Oh, your kids a treat. I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, we've updated that.
Yes.
But are they all in on the joke, or are they some of them there thinking it's a sort of serious selection process?
No.
Some of them sort of hairy-backed heterosexuals who are pushed into it by their their female partners? What's the
Oh,
sort of
absolutely.
format?
Well, I think there's a lot of wives buy the tickets like middle of the front row, and they know about the show, and their husbands probably don't, so they're sort of sitting there quite innocently until the cattle prod comes and pokes them.
Yes.
And so then they have a period of being terrified, but actually they overcome that, and I like to feel that people have some sort of experience that they quite enjoy, and it gives them something to talk about, doesn't it?
It's a shame you weren't here last week, because Joan Collins was on the show last week, and in your first years you called yourself the Joan Collins Fan Club. That was your stage name.
In this very room.
In that very seat, she was sitting there. Well, anyway, she was there, but so it would have been good for you to. But you have been together in pantomime.
We're good chums now, yes, because there was this, because of the Joan Collins fan club. There was a sort of, we were a bit wary of. Well, she was wary of me. I was just kind of in awe of her.
Didn't she take out an injunction at one stage to stop you using her name in your title?
Quite right too. But when we were doing panto, we, eventually. Because we were in adjoining dressing rooms, and you're there like 12 hours a day because you're doing so many shows. Anyway, we got to like each other, and we play poker now and visit each other in our luxury homes.
Oh, right. Played poker. I should think she's a very good poker player.
She is. It's all
I wouldn't think she would give much away in her face when she's playing poker.
What are you implying?
Well, because she's got a very good control over herself, and she wears sunglasses quite a lot of the time.
She's a very good poker player, and it is taken quite seriously, and I have to stop making vulgar jokes when we're playing cards.
And I would think she's got plenty of money, so that's often a factor in poker, that if you can outbid your opponent, outstake your opponent. So you may lose all your vast fortune, Julian.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
So the tour is taking you where? I think you're going to Jersey first of all.
Going to Jersey tomorrow, Sunday, and then onwards. I think I'm in Dartford soon, and Richmond, and I finish up on the 2nd of June at the Palace Theatre.
Yeah,
that's my grand finale
in London. So that's great. Now, what about further television? Are you going to, having done Celebrity Big Brother and Strictly Come Dancing, you've covered, I suppose. What about going to the
Splash?
Splash is definitely where you would
think so.
Yeah.
The world would like to see you doing Splash. Even the bits of the world don't really want to see Splash would like to see you doing it.
I'm hoping I've made my contribution to reality television.
Newsnight.
Newsnight. I've always had a thing about reading the news. I think you could do a camp news bulletin.
Be great.
Yeah.
But, I could do. I never know what's going to happen to me. Something always turns up is my philosophy.
Yes. What about further novels? Because that book you wrote based around the Hull. You own. People who haven't listened to these interviews in the past know that you own Noel Coward's house, or the house he used to live in.
Yes.
And you wrote.
Yes.
Yes, obviously he no longer lives there, but he never lives everywhere, does he? But
someone misheard me once and thought I lived in an old council house. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yes.
No, I wrote a book about Noel Coward in that house.
Yeah.
Much like the John Lennon book, it's a sort of fantasy version of what might have happened in that house.
If Noel Coward had stormed out of the Beatles, this is what. But anyway, so any further? Because you've written other books as well. So any more novels on the way?
Yes, I've conceived one, and I'm gestating as we speak.
All right, okay. But while you're doing that, you're also on stage doing your entertaining stand-up act, so people can find you in a theatre near them eventually. I'm afraid that's. In fact, you can see Position Vacant apply within the Jersey Opera House on Sunday the 21st of April, and then across the country until early June.